Hello and welcome to another AutoCAD tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to see how we could redesign this sink. So this sink is designed in centimeter. So the first thing I'll do is I'll start template and change that template into to be in centimeter, the units. So the first thing I'll do is I'll start new and AutoCAD will open up the template, so I'll choose AutoCAD ISO. That's because that template is on matrix. Open. I don't like the grids, so I'll switch off the grids and I'll type units. I'll type anywhere, and the units dialog box will display, and I'll change that millimeter to centimeter. So I'll say OK. So to start with, I will draw rectangle, and so really basically this drawing is rectangle and circles. So the first rectangle, outside rectangle, is 94 for x, y is 48.2. So I will come to my drawing. I'll say I want a rectangle starting from 0, 0, press enter. So it's somewhere in there, and the other corner would be 94, yeah, comma by 48.2. So it's hiding somewhere. So there it is. I'll just zoom in. You could use the zoom command. So the next thing what I want to do is draw the inside rectangle. So really, instead of drawing another rectangle, I'll use a tool called offset. And what offset does is it will offset a selected drawing by a specific value. So let me explain what I mean. So first of all, we want to, if you look at the calculation, we want to offset by 2.5. So if you look at the 48.2 minus 43.2 would give me 5. So 2.5 on this side, 2.5 on that side, that will make 5 when you add them up. So I'll say I want to offset, and if you look at the offset value here, it's 0, so I'll type 2.5, press enter, and my cursor change into a small square, so that's a selecting cursor, and it says select object to offset. So it says object without S, so it means it's looking for one object. So when I click straight away, then it will tell me the cursor changes into pointer cursor, so it's asking me which direction or which way do I want this offset to happen. So if I click on this side, it will be on the outside. If I click on this side, it will be on the inside. So I press, that's OK, and then I just have to press enter again to terminate that command, the offset command. So 2.5 on this side, 2.5 on that side, that will make 5. Okay, that's good. Now the third rectangle is slightly tricky, and what makes it tricky is we cannot use the offset tool, because offset tool will have to be the same size. But in this case, we have got a smaller rectangle. One thing we know with this rectangle is the gap is 2.5. So I'll show you a way of actually drawing this. There's two ways of doing it. So one way would be to, first of all, let me just show you something interesting here. So I'm going to say rectangle, and I'll use my tracker to help me. So the first thing I'll do is I'll come and track it, show that point. I'm not clicking, just show it. I'll start moving out, and you could see there's a small cross where I showed it the end point. So at that point, you will see a small cursor across. Right now, I won't show you because I switched it off. So if I go back, it's there now. So what I could do now is I could say from that point, yeah, I want to move x by 2.5, y by 2.5. But watch what will happen. If I say from that point I want to move x 2.5, comma 2.5, it picked it exactly the same location. That's a strange. Why? The reason is AutoCAD went and calculated that 2.5 from that point, from 0, 0. So to avoid this, for me to tell AutoCAD start calculating from that point, not from the 0, 0, I'll use the word at. So I come and show it, move out, and I'll type the word at. Can you see that? Now I've typed at, then I type 2.5, comma by 2.5. So it goes and picks up a point for me. So there's no square there. And it was a straight, so I'm just going to change that to polar. And now the rectangle is going to be x will be 42, comma, the y value will be 34. So we managed to create this rectangle using there's something called relative and absolute coordinate system. So I'll explain that later on before I finish this tutorial. So I've done this, so I created that, and the next part is I'm going to create these rails. So I'll only start with one, and then I'll create the rest of them using a tool called array. So how would I do this? Very simple and straightforward. And notice what I'm doing. I've not done any of the flits because I like to do flits always at last. So I want to create this rectangle. Yeah, so it's the size is x is 34 and y value would be 2.5, and of course there's a small flit there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and this time remember how I created this. Sorry, how I created this rectangle. I'm going to use kind of like a very similar method. So for x in this case will be 5 and by 5 actually. That's easy. Makes my life a lot easier. So I'm going to say show that point. This time I'm going to type again at, the word at. X is going to be minus 5 because we are coming minus this way. Yeah, comma, but for y I'll type just 5. And it picked up, oh sorry, I don't know what happened there. Let's try again. So rectangle, show that point, type the word at, minus 5, comma 5. So the y value will be. It keeps going to that point, okay, for whatever reason. So I'll show you another way of doing it. So this time I'll come and select that point straight, and I'll type x is going to be, will be minus 34, comma, by the y value will be just 2.5. That's better. And now I need to move this up. And the way I'm going to move is I'm going to say move. So move this object, press enter from that point somewhere up in here. And you could see the value already. Yeah, so I'm going to say in this case would be at minus 5 still, comma 5. Yeah, so it places it exactly 5 by 5. So if you look at this, it will be 5 and that side will be 5. Okay. So we need a few of them. So in this case, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this tool called array. Yeah, and it does the job very well. But before array, I'm going to flit this because it got a kind of like a rounded edge. So I'm going to say flit. And if you look at the flit value, it says R0. So I'm going to type R, enter, and it's 1. And because I want to do all of them, all the edges at one go, I could type P for polyline. That's a polyline option. Enter and come and select a line. So everything is done. Now I could go and use this tool called array. Array. And what array says is exactly the same thing, though the process just repeats itself now. It's asking me select object. This is the object. I press enter. Then it will ask me, actually in this version of AutoCAD, you get this dialog box, so the whole ribbon changes. So the column, how many columns do we have for that sync? There's only one column. So I need to say there's only one column. And how many of them? So the spacing, there's one column, and it's the rows, the number of rows is going to be 7. That's 7 we counted. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. And I select this again. Now in between these 7, what is the gap? So the gap between them is going to be, this is how the calculation will happen. From the bottom, look at the gap, the calculation, it says here 3.75. But the way the calculation works in AutoCAD is you need to start calculating from the bottom line. From the bottom line to that point is, remember, that was only 2.5. In fact, if I show you here. So from this point to that point is 2.5, and the gap is 2.5. So you need to start calculating from that point all the way to the next line. From that line to the next line would be 5. So in here, I need to say not 3.75, but it's actually 5. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense. So from that point to that point is 2.5, and the gap we want is 2.5 anyway, so we need to type 5. So AutoCAD will always calculate array from the bottom. Yeah, so there's something called bottom left BL. We'll see that later on. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I click somewhere and press enter. Sorry, I said 4. No, this is just 1. Oh no, we don't want to array the whole thing. The next thing what I could do is I could actually do fleet of these things here. So I could say fleet home, fleet radius R3, P for polyline, enter, and that. And for the in this fleet value is 5. So I would go and say I want to fleet R for radius 5, enter. Oh, sorry, actually I need to say P, so 5 is good, polyline. And finally the last, this one is 8. So I'll say fleet R. I cannot type R8, by the way. I have to type R, enter, then 8, enter. And P for polyline. There you go. Okay, so that's the outer part is done, and now the next part is to do these parts. So if I actually go to this drawing and switch on this, oh, sorry, in fact I'm in model space. Okay, we have we got this circle, and that circle is, if I could actually switch, that's much better. So this circle is located at 6.9 from the center, and that's radius of 5. And then we got another circle inside. So let's try to do these 2 circles. One is 3, one is 5, located at 6.9. So I will come to in here and I'll say I want a circle from the middle going down by 6.9. And then the circle value is, if I'm right, is 5. So 5, yeah. And the inside is 3. So we could use now, we could draw circle, another circle, or we could use the offset. Offset value would be, in this case, 5 minus 3 is 2. So I would say offset. I'll type 2 first for the value, and I'll click here, select inside. Now we have other circles inside. So if I start with this one, and that circle is radius of 5. So I would say I want a circle. Oh, where is it located though? It doesn't say the location, so we'll just make a guess. So circle from here, somewhere in here. So I'm just going to guess now. But the radius is 0.5. Now remember we used array to create this part. So we could also use array, but polar array. So I'm going to say polar array, this object, press enter, and the center of it would be that, and you'll ask me how many of them. So in that drawing, I think there was 6. So I'll just select 6. If you want 7, there will be 7 of them. And you press enter when you're happy. I think there was only 6. Yeah, 6. So I did 7. So if you're unhappy, you just go back in there and type 6. I'll modify, press enter. Okay, and what do we have in there? I think we got this screw thing symbol. So we could go back and draw one more circle in here, radius of 0.5, and I'll draw a line. This is a reference line, and I could say offset. Offset this maybe by 0.1, I don't know. I'm just making up 1 on this side, 1 on this side, and then this could be deleted. Now you could see we need to trim this part. Trim means is that we want to cut this, so we say trim, press enter for now. Later on I will create another video how the trim commands works for, but for now go to trim, press enter. Once you select trim, press enter, and then come and select these points. Yeah, that's job done. Okay, so we've done that part. What's left? I think we need to do this 2 tabs. Okay, they look fairly straightforward. Okay, I've switched off some of the dimensions. So if that's 14, the gap between them. So if I switch on this dimension, dim 4, no, dim 1, it doesn't tell me actually about. Okay, we don't have the dimension for this, so I'm just going to make up something. The only thing we know is the gap is 14 from the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I could actually draw a line, and this will be a reference line. So I want to stop my line in at that point. So I could go to my snap and say I want a snap which would actually nearest would do. Enter. So the whole idea is from the center to the nearest point, straight up. And so I could say from the middle going this way by 7, and the circle is something like, I don't know, 2.5. And then we could draw another circle which is just 2. And what I could do is I could draw a line to create this tab effect. And so what I could do is, I'm trying to think if, okay, yeah, we could do this actually, just draw a line somewhere in here. So I'm starting guessing now, 6. And what I'm going to do is offset this by maybe 1. Let's see. Oh, that's too big. So I'll type 0.5. Yeah, 0.5 this way. Sorry, let's do this again. 0.5 this way, 0.5 that way. And now I could draw that circle. And I'm going to use 2-point circle. See how these tools, they become handy. 2-point Y from that point 1 to that point. That gives me kind of like a nice tangent circle. And then I'll say trim, press enter. I don't want this part. I don't want this. I don't want any of this. Now I also don't want this. I cannot trim this because there's no trimming line. In fact, I might as well explain how the trim tools work here. In order to trim, you need 2 lines crossing each other. So if I say trim, I could trim this line in here. I cannot trim this line because there's nothing that crosses it. I could trim this line up to that point, and hence why it was not possible for me to trim those 2 lines. Okay, so now all we have to do is, in fact, I might have to trim this part. I don't know. No, I don't have to. Okay, so I have to undo. Well, the next part is I want to mirror this on this side. I've got 2 ways of doing it. One would be to go and say mirror this object and this object. Press enter, and then I'll say the middle point of the mirror would be here. Press no. Let me do it again. I could say mirror these objects. So I'm selecting this object only. Press enter. The mirror line, what is the line? The center line for that mirror would be between these 2 lines. Can you see that? I need to select 2 points. And then it will ask me, do you want me to erase this? You say no. There's another way of doing it actually. If you don't want to use mirror, you could also use copy. So you could say copy these objects. Press enter. From where to where? From that point this way. Make sure your cursor is straight, because otherwise if you say this way, it will follow your cursor. And one way of making sure it's straight is by putting this the auto on. And I will type 14. And that will be right. Remember, this is supposed to be 14. So you could use mirror or copy. Yeah, you could also use move, but move with copy command. We'll see that later on. Okay, there was one more thing which I wanted to show you was selecting something. So I'm going to go and do the same thing again. And when you select something, let's say for example I want to copy this. Can you see when I do this way, it's green inside and outer lines are dotted. But if I go this way, can you see that it's gone blue and the out frame is actually continuous, so it's full. So what it means is if I select this, anything that I touch will be selected, but in this way the object have to be fully inside that blue shaded area. So if you see that circle, I will deliberately leave it outside. So the rest of the 5 circles, no sorry, the 6 circles included in center will be selected, but not, okay, in this case the reason it didn't select this is because this is treated as 1. So if I do this way, you would see this circle and all the array circle will be selected. Yeah. Okay. But if I do it this way, anything that's is been touched. So in this case, more or less everything has been touched. So everything will be selected. So we say copy. I said this. In fact, what I could do now is I could make a window. So this is the only object that's been inside selected. Press enter. From the center, going this way, precisely 14. So I'll make sure that the auto is on. The auto is always better to go vertical and horizontal. So 14. And one more thing, which is trim, enter. You don't want that line. So now we have created that sink. And in the next tutorial, we'll see how we could create another object. But I hope you picked up some tips. I don't know, something. If you like these videos, please feel free to subscribe. Well, it would be a good idea to do that because it will help me, will encourage me to create more videos. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon.